Hi, everybody, and welcome to episode 147 of the IROCKNITTERS podcast. And I don't have a friend today. I've not run out of friends. I have 3 friends recording this upcoming week, but I did want to get a podcast out for everyone, so I am going to record my favorite knits of all time. I have never shared that, and I have a lot of new followers, so some of you have not gone back and watched all the podcast, all 146 podcasts that I have up. And so I thought, well, why don't you share your favorite knits this week, Cori? And then I decided maybe a future podcast will be my favorite tools, my favorite blankets, my favorite socks, my favorite toys and baby knits. So I was making lists all afternoon. But today I slept until 11. I have been running myself a little ragged lately. And my husband got up at the crack of dawn and took Chevy and went to his brother's lake place in Wisconsin to pick up the fishing boat. And so he was gone bright and early, so I didn't get up for church. And I went to bed late. I always go to bed so late. And I didn't set an alarm. And I thought, I usually wake up. I rolled over at 7:30 and I thought, nah, too early. And then the next thing I knew, it was 11 something. I must have been really, really tired. So we are switching out closets today. So I've got my summer sweaters out a couple of weeks ago and my short sleeved things, but we've been having rain and windy weather. And so today is the first time that Ross is mowing the lawn, and we have a young man who comes and helps him do that. And then this young guy, Carter, is going to help Ross put okay, we already had an interruption. I have been waiting all day to get to the point where I could start recording. And it's a beautiful spring day. So we want to get all the things done, right? We want to plant flowers, we want to mow, we want to switch out the closets, and then he needed to pick up the fishing boat. And yeah, it's just been, it's been crazy, but they're going to bring the furniture up onto the patio and bring the bench out to the front of the house. Just the things that are heavy. And I said, well, if Carter's coming, then he can haul some of my winter clothes down from my closet and my summer clothes up. So we have like coats in the back closet that are winter that we take down. We have hanging bags in the basement where we put them in. And it just protects things from getting, dusty. And so I usually, even though I have a big closet and I have some room in there, I usually move stuff that is winter wear down. And Ross doesn't like to do it. And I can't carry everything down and up. It would take me a week if I did a trip a day. So I put everything out of the closet onto the bed, and then went to the basement, took all the things that are hanging that are summer. There were 4 bundles that, short sleeve things and capri pants and things like that, and laid them over our suitcases down there so that Carter can come and just do that. So anyway, it's been just kind of a crazy day, and it's already 5 o'clock because when you sleep until 11, your day is really short. So I'll have to stay up really late tonight getting some things done probably. But okay, Trudy8822, this package has been sitting in my office for too long. You need to get in touch with me in the next 2 weeks, or I am going to draw again for this prize. So Trudy8822 on YouTube, please get in touch with me because you won a prize several weeks ago and I have not heard from you. And I tried to get in touch with you. I looked up all the Trudys on Ravelry. I looked up the Trudys on my Patreon. I looked up the Trudys in my friends. I'm working too hard to try to find you. So you might have just missed your name or you haven't watched that episode, but if anybody knows Trudy8822, tell her to get in touch. If you haven't joined my newsletter, will you please do so? It is super easy to join, and I only send out emails when I have new designs to show you all. I would really appreciate it if you would join my newsletter list. It helps me to be able to contact people. You just go to my website, IROCKNITTERS.com. There's a little box and it says to put your first name and your email, and then you'll get a free pattern. So I would really appreciate it if you would do that. And then if you haven't subscribed to the podcast or given me a thumbs up or rung the bell, all the things. Please subscribe to the podcast. Since I have gone over to Patreon, my viewership went way down. And so that's kind of sad. My Patreon went up, but my viewership from everyone else went down. And that happens in the summer when people get busy and they don't have time to watch. So if you have time to watch, I appreciate it. If you would join my Patreon, I'd be even more happy. So you can join for as little as $2 a month. And I would appreciate that. You can have access to all of my patterns for free if you are a $10 member, but you have access to book club and to knit night. And so we have a knit night coming up here on Friday, May 17th. It will be at 7 or 7:30 p.m. I keep backing it up to accommodate people. So but right now I have it set for 7 p.m. on Friday, May 17th, and we're gonna knit together for about an hour and a half or so, and we're gonna share projects, whatever you're knitting on. And if you don't wanna talk and you just wanna listen, that is absolutely fine. I do need to say hello to the book club people who showed up this week because we had such a great book club. And so I want to just say hi quick at the beginning of this to Janice Butler, to Cindy Buchheit, to Janet Holler, to Ruth Ann Dingwell, to Janice Mara, to Marilyn Everingham, and to Brandy Stoker. We discussed the book Mad Honey, and it was so fun. The book was intense. It had a lot of hard themes, and we were a group of 8 women who had never spoken together before, and everyone was just all in. I thought I would be the one doing all the talking, or that only extroverts would show up, right? Because people who are introverts don't want to go to a book club because they might not want to share, especially with a bunch of strangers. Sorry, I'm warm and my glasses are slipping because I've been running around and up and down the stairs. So I'm going to keep pushing them up. We just had the best discussion, and I said toward the end that, I was really appreciative that I think everybody talked at some point, and I said, you must all be extroverts, and they're like, no, there was a room full of introverts, and they did a great job. They brought up good topics and good thoughts. It was just... For my first one, I was nervous, right? And I'm just thrilled that it went so well. So I've picked next month's books, and that, is only available to Patreon subscribers. So you have to be at one of the 3 levels, $2, $4, or $10. But the book is called Orbiting Jupiter, and it is so good. It's very short, so if you're not a reader, it's a good entry to a book club if you've never been to a book club. It's 192 pages, and it's only 3 hours on audio. It's available as a used book. It came out in 2015, I think. And he is an award winner for a young adult fiction. And this book didn't really scream to the top of anything, but I just listened to it. And I said, I need to talk about this with some other people. It is sad. It is funny. It is told from the viewpoint of the 12-year-old brother in the novel who gets a foster brother in his household, and all of the issues that come with this foster brother and what he has gone through. And the parents in this are so lovely. They're just patient and kind, and yeah, it's just a lovely little book. And so I would love to have you join my Patreon so that you can join us. And that book discussion will be on June 5th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time. So our May book club is the beginning of June. Our April book club was at the beginning of May, and that's kind of how I'll keep it going. But I did record the Zoom, and I told everyone as soon as we started that I was recording the Zoom, and so that people who couldn't make it to that Zoom discussion can go back and watch it. And that is private on YouTube, but if you're a Patreon member, you have access. So you could go and listen to the Mad Honey book club discussion with the 8 of us that showed up that night. I figured out that Wednesday at 6 wasn't the best time to pick, probably, but we did our thing, and it was a lovely group of women. If you signed up for my Patreon and you went over to Patreon and you signed up for free and you didn't pay the $2, the $4, or the $10, you are not a member of my Patreon community. And there are a lot of you that are listed under Patreon but you haven't paid anything. So you really technically didn't sign up and you're not getting any of the benefits. So you're not seeing the things I'm posting. You're not seeing the podcasts I'm posting. And so you either need to sign up to pay $2 a month, $4 or $10, depending on what level you want to give. And that's a monthly fee that just automatically comes out. You can cancel it at any time and you can rejoin at any time. But there are a bunch of you out there, I think, who went over and signed up and thought either you thought you got it for free or you didn't realize that you didn't sign up to pay. And so maybe you just went over to check it out. But I feel bad if you're waiting, if you're thinking that you're waiting for something because you're not getting anything because I don't have access to your information other than your name that pops up and it just says free on the side of my thing. And I don't have any free Patreon subscribers, so you're not seeing anything. And so I just want to be really clear up front about that with people. I do want to say hi to Barb Hurwitt at Rose Yarn because I taught a class there and we connected. It was really fun. We had a really good time. There was another gal there too that works there intermittently, and oh, now I'm gonna forget her first name, and I wrote it down in the office, but I'm not gonna go get it. So I want to say hi to them too. It was a lovely group of people. I taught Latvian braids and 50 Shades of Sweaters a couple weeks ago on a Saturday, and yeah, it was really fun. I did teach yesterday. I taught fixing mistakes at Knit and Bolt, and I had a lovely little class of knitters who really dug in. Like they just were gonna give it a go and try to fix the mistakes. And they get progressively harder as the class goes on, and they just hung in there. And one just started knitting in February, and she knit the swatch and came to the class. So that was amazing. Really, really fun. Knitting fills me up, but teaching fills me more, right? It's just my favorite thing. Okay, I have decided to close my Etsy shop, so I just want to let everybody know that I'm just gonna give that up. It takes a lot of energy when I have a new design come out to post it to Ravelry, my website, Etsy, Love Crafts, but I have Kimberly who does that for me. Thank you to Kimberly. I pay her $5 and give her the pattern for free to upload those for me. But it's just, I can't get my patterns out quickly on the day that I'm going to launch them. And Etsy has just, they've upped their prices. I make very little pattern sales over there. And I figure if people really want to find my patterns, they can go to my website if they're not on Ravelry. So I'm just closing my Etsy shop for now. I may regret it. I don't know, but it costs me some every month and I make, 12 cents. So I'm just like, I make a couple dollars usually, maybe $4. It's just, I sell very little pattern over there and it takes a long time to upload all of the items. So I'm going to close that. What am I wearing today? This is my 3 for the Road sweater. It is one of my absolute favorite sweaters. I love it. It is made out of novelty yarn. I'm going to bring the camera in so don't get sick. The novelty yarn there. Yeah, it's 3 strands, which is why it's called 3 for the Road, and it has this little crocheted border around the edge. And so it is my one of my number one sweater favorites. And so since I'm doing favorites this week, I got it out, and it is like a little jacket. It does have these really cute, sparkly, shiny buttons on it. And I would really like trying to do this sweater in a wool. I think it would be fun. So you knit slip over with one color and knit slip back with the other, and then pick up the third, and then the first, the second, and the third. And it's just quite simple to make. Slip stitch doesn't grow very much in height, so it is a little bit extra knitting, but I just think it turned out so cute. It's kind of like, almost like a little professional jacket. It's just real cute. So it's called 3 for the Road, and it is by Barry, Klein, and Laura Bryant, who were the king and queen of novelty yarn back in the day. And it's in their book. The book was called Knitting with Novelty Yarns, and it is no longer available as a single pattern, so you would have to get the book. Used bookstore, quite inexpensively, I think. It does look like you can get the book for as little as $6.31, which is the price of one pattern. So if anyone's interested in making this little sweater. Okay, the next sweaters that I'm going to talk about are my Hiro sweaters. And if you've been around for a while, you know that I knit about 16 of these sweaters in about a year and a half and gave them to everybody in my life. So sister-in-laws got them. So I have 4 sister-in-laws, 2 on each side, my mom, my niece, 2 or 3 of my dearest friends I knit them for. I knit 2 for myself. Yeah, I knit a whole bunch of them, and then I hung them on the fence at the dog park and took a picture. I love this sweater. It is just fun to knit, easy to knit. It comes in child to adult, cardigan, and pullover. So all of the options. It's a worsted weight sweater. You can do the color work at the sleeves or not. I have 15 of the projects that are out there on Ravelry, so you can go look at all the colors that I did. This is my most vibrant sweater with all the bright colors for spring, and I did put buttons on there that are wrapped with yarn that look like little packages. So I went through the hole and then I wrapped the yarn around the outside of the button. I have close-up pictures on my Ravelry page, but I do really like that I put the pink buttons, the orange, and then I found the green buttons. So I kind of offset it. It's just really quirky and fun to wear in the spring when everything is kind of gray and black and muddy, and then you come out with your bright spring sweater. So yeah, the Hiro, that is one of my favorite sweaters to knit. I highly recommend it for first color work knitter. Because this little pixelation, there are no long floats, you just alternate colors, and so it really fades one into the other. I've always said that Julia designed the first fade because if you did similar colors like all blues, it really would fade one into the other. And this was written back in 2001, maybe? I can't remember, but yeah, long time ago. Maybe not that long. Let me see if I have it written down here. Oh, 2012, this was written. So it has been out there for a while, but it's a great sweater pattern, really nice fitting, and I highly recommend. I'm gonna share some of my favorite hats that I've ever knit and let you know about these because I started thinking about them. So I love the Shetland Wool Week hats, and because Shetland Wool Week just came out with their newest hat and I purchased it already, I decided that I should share these. So this is the Sheep Heid hat by Kate Davies, which is not part of Shetland Wool Week, but it is part of my stack of kind of that Shetland color work. And so this one has the sheep and then the ram's head on it, and I did make matching mittens. There isn't a mitten pattern, but I just kind of stole the motifs from one and put it on the other. I didn't mix all the colors here for the small color work in the round, but I just put the ram's head on there. So I do have that one, and then the other one that is by Kate Davies as well that came out in 2018 is the Peerie Flooers. I wear this all the time. It is one of my favorite hats. It's just little flowers. That's what Peerie Flooers means. It's just little flowers, and the top is just beautiful. I just love this little hat. I wear it just all the time when I'm out walking the dog. It's fingering weight, it's lightweight, it's warm, but it has a lot of air movement. Like there is the ability to kind of have it breathe. Although if I wore it more, and because I usually sweat from my head when I'm walking, this would felt down a little bit. Then I have my Crofthouse hat that came out. This one was from 2016. It is by Ella Gordon, and she was the 2016 patron for Shetland Wool Week. I just saw someone else's in the pink and raspberry colors, and I just had to have it. I love knitting these hats. They're, you know, technically, you know, complicated as far as like color work goes, but they're so quick because they're not a big project. So you're not knitting you know, a whole sweater, although I would love to do these little houses on a sweater yoke. I just think that that would be a really fun one to do. And then the other one that I knit, I'll have to put a picture in of, and that is the Baa-ble Hat. I couldn't find it back there, and I'm not sure where it is. I've seen it recently, but it's probably just in a hat box somewhere, and I just didn't want to keep digging. So I'll put a picture in of the Baa-ble Hat, and that was from 2015. So if you're not familiar, Shetland Wool Week happens, that where people visit the Shetland Islands, something I would love to go to. But I have hats for 2018, the Merrie Dancers, and that's by Shetland Handspun, and that's just like a tiny little motif that goes around. I'll have a picture in for all of you, and that's really pretty. I have the hat for the Shetland Muse hat from 2019. That's by Felicity Felix Ford. So I do want to make that one, and I may make that one in oranges because I don't have one in oranges, and I think that that one would be fun made up in oranges. And then 2022 was the Bonnie Isle hat by Linda Shearer, and who wouldn't love having the name of Shearer, like shearing sheep, right? So she was the patron for 2022. And then last year I loved the hat, and did I get it made? No. It was the 2023 hat, and that's the Boogie Fleur. I assume that means bug flower, but I really don't know, by Allison Rendall, and that just has flowers all the way around it. It's probably a type of flower, and if I looked it up, it would probably tell me what kind of flower. Right here, Allison chose the name Buggy Fleur or Boogie Fleur, a Shetland name for sea campion, which grows in abundance near her home by the sea. So doesn't that make sense? But that is beautiful. So that's next. That one is the one that I really want to make next. Then 2020 was Katie's Kep by Wilma Malcolmson, and 2024 this year is the Eichelberger Cori by the Dual family. And this is the first year that they've ever chosen a family instead of just one person as the patron, and it's I assume a family who's given a lot to the Shetland Wool Week. So if you are not a member, like if you haven't gone out to the Shetland Wool Week website and signed up for their newsletters, usually you get a discount code. For several years, I got the hat pattern for $1, and I just bought it on their website, and they were doing a fundraiser to get an MRI machine on the island one year, and so you could buy the pattern so that your money would go to help them get an MRI machine on the island. So I just love these hats, and they always give you a glimpse into what's happening at Shetland Wool Week. There is a Shetland Wool Week like program that you can get, and it just makes these hats just make me smile. Everything that just looks like, you know, the color work of the Shetland Isles, and maybe it's just because I want to go there someday. Hopefully I will get there someday, but I have to get the rest of those hats knit because I own all the patterns. Anyway, so those are my favorite hats of all time. And then this is my other favorite hat. Man, do I love this hat. This is by Kat Bordy, and it's the anemone hat. And it has all these fun, and I know you have to be a very special kind of person to wear this out and about, but whenever I do, especially in the winter on the snowiest of days, people always stop and say, I love that hat. It's just really cute. And learning how to make these little twisted knots where you pull string out and you just twist it until it kind of curls back on itself, it was really fun. There were a lot of ends to weave in because this is a striped hat, and you could certainly do it in one color, but I loved that I striped it. It just turned out so very cute. So those are my favorite hats from. Okay, let's get back to a couple of shawls. So a couple of my favorite things to wear and shawl patterns are my Fiber Friends shawl. This is a sampler where you start out with stockinette, and then you do a little cable, and then you do some twisted stockinette, and then you do the cable again, and then you do some more of that twisted stockinette section, and then the cable, and then some slip stitches, and then you go back to the cable. And I love the shape of this shawl and the way it wears. It's one of my grab and go out the door shawls because I can wear it so many ways. It's kind of a crescent and kind of a check mark. It just has a soft, can I show you that easily? Just kind of has this soft edge there at the bottom, not a sharp V triangle or a circle. It just kind of goes like that and then goes all up to the top. It's very easy to knit in DK weight yarn, 2 skeins. The original was knit using Suburban Stitcher, and then I have since knit several more in Cori colors. I have the Rust one, and then I have this one, which is also knit in Suburban Stitcher. Oh, isn't that lovely? Oh, it's just orange and raspberry happiness. I just love this colorway. Oh, it's so pretty. Yeah, this is from Diane of Suburban Stitcher. When I saw it, I was like, oh my gosh, I have to have that. It's so pretty. And it just, I mean, it kind of hid the cables and the slip stitches a little bit, but not, this can stand up to some variegated yarn. So even though I'm tooting my own horn here, one of my favorite knit shawls of all time is my Fiber Friends shawl. And at the time, I never would have dreamed that this one would still just stay with me so much, because I entered it in a contest, and then I won the contest, and then I gave it away for free to all the people that were going to the North Carolina Knitters Guild event that year. Yeah, so it, you know, and now it has just turned out to be a popular pattern that people really like to knit in DK weight. So if you've never knit a DK weight shawl and you're always doing fingering, and you can always hold 2 skinny fingerings, like 2 463 yard fingerings together to get that DK weight, so that would work too. And then you all will know that one of my favorite shawls of all time to knit over and over and over again is the Summer Flies. This is a lovely shawl design, and it's quick and it's easy if you like simple lace with yarn overs. So here at the top we have the little butterfly shapes, and then we have them again there, and then we have the lattice in the flower garden that the butterfly garden that they would land on here, and then you have a picot bind off at the bottom. And so I have knit this in yellow and in green, in this lovely green colorway. I'll put it on. And I have a little closure in that one. And then I have knit it in blue. I was gonna always give this one to my mom, but I think I gave her another one in a lighter blue. So I kept this kind of dusty tealy blue. Then I also knit it. I mean, I have gifted this probably 15 times. It is one of my most commonly knit items. And then I also have it knit up in black. This one has a tag on it for my shawl class to tell what it is. But I have this giant jewel closure on it. So now we have the hunchback here because I have all of the shawls on. But I have just knit this and knit this. It is a pleasure to knit. There's always something going on, but what is going on is easy, right? Like it's just easy to knit. You can do the first half in one day, the second half in one day, and then the picot bind off in one day. So you can do it in any weight of yarn. I would say that what these are knit in is like a DK or sport to DK weight, but I have knit it and worsted as well, and it just turns out bigger, which is lovely. So highly recommend the Summer Flies shawl as one of my favorites of all time. Carter has been here and he has hauled my clothes up and down and a box of summer sandals. And it is amazing how much a young football player with lots of energy can just run up and down the stairs carrying bundles of clothing on hangers. It was super quick. Yeah, he's a really nice kid. He always shows up whenever we need help lifting something or whatever, and he always helps Ross mow, and he will help shovel in the winter too. So he always wants to make a little money, but he's super busy with sports. I think he plays baseball in the spring and football in the fall, and I don't know, he's just super. We had his brother before this, so and his brother went on to play Division I football at South Dakota State, I think. And so, yeah, it's just really nice to have a young person that can just help lift all that stuff. So let's get back to 2 more sweaters. This is my Foxy sweater, one of my favorites of all time. It is a sweater that was only written for size extra small and small. I talked about that when I shared it on the podcast, but I'll tell you all again that the designer just said to go up in the weight of yarn to make the pattern larger. This is an older pattern, and I do believe that she is a designer from a country where English is not her first language. And so the pattern was not, super detailed, but the charts were there. And so a friend, Stacy, and I, who Stacy's been on the podcast, decided that we were going to knit this in worsted weight because it was originally done in fingering. And then we just added another fox in the chart going around. And so we could make the whole sweater work because we had knit enough sweaters that we kind of knew our numbers and knew where to start from. But if you go over to that pattern, I don't think that it has been updated with like inclusive sizing or anything. But if you've knit a yoked sweater, or if you have the Tin Can Knits yoked color work book, which walks you through your numbers and you can put any chart in, then you could just take the chart from this pattern and plug it in, kind of do a plug and play with their book that they wrote. So that would be an option as well, but it's just one of my favorites. I knit out a Sun Valley Fibers yarn. The boxes are very golden in real life. They stand out just beautifully. And I just love this sweater. It's super soft and cozy in the wintertime. So yeah, just one of my favorites. And then I have also knit a ton of owls. I do teach an owls class for people that are cabling for the first time. And so I have an owl hat and cowl pattern that I use in that class, but this is my owl sweater by Kate Davies. I guess I'm a real Kate Davies lover. I was going through these patterns and I was like, wow, you have a lot of Kate Davies as your favorites. I did put different colored buttons all the way around the yoke here, only on the front. I'm gonna bring it way forward here so you can see them. Yeah, I used little sparkle buttons and little pearlized buttons, all either in silver or kind of pearlized. And then on my mom's sweater, I did kind of gold buttons, all little gold buttons. And I only put those on the front and not around the whole back. In the original pattern, I think there's buttons just on one. So there's just one set of eyes. This pattern comes for child through adult in a cardigan, and in a pullover. This one is knit in pretty chunky yarn, Aran to chunky yarn, this gauge, but it is out there as mittens, it's out there as a hat, it's out there as cowl, it's all over, and it's super fun to make this little owl cable. So you cross the cable at the bottom of the owl, in the middle of the owl, and then at the top of the owl. So you just do 3 cable crosses and it makes the little owl shape. I don't know whoever thought of that, but it was brilliant because it's really cute. And then usually you have a purl row around the bottom so that they're sitting on like a little branch or something. Yeah, I used Ella Rae Chunky for this one, and that's one of my favorite yarns of all time. It is discontinued. They don't make it anymore, but in a lot of older yarn stores, they still have some stash available, and you can get it on D-Stash from people's Ravelry projects in their stash on Ravelry. So I have bought up quite a bit, and I know Amber bought up a whole bunch too at one time, back in the day when I was knitting all the things out of Ella Rae Chunky. I just love that yarn. It held up so well. It was more of a woolly wool, and it just doesn't pill, and you can just wear it to death, and it just does wonderful things. So yeah, my Foxy and my owl sweater. I just have a couple more. Okay, we have two more. We have a winter and a summer top here. So this is more orange sweater, Oranje. There is a way to pronounce it. It is a Dutch speed skating sweater. It was a free pattern on knitty.com. It's by Ann Weaver. I have knit this twice. I did make one for my mom too. Hers is more muted in a kind of a coral and a lighter green. I loved everything that this sweater had to teach me about steeking and Latvian braids and color work and putting in a zipper. I will unzip it so you can see this collar. So this collar is lined, so there are stripes inside, so it's a folded in collar that flips out and then it's lined. The bottom of the sweater is lined with stripes, as well as the cuff of the sleeve is also lined with stripes and has a Latvian braid turning row. It was meant to be knit in very bright, bold colors. The original is like a black, orange, and white. But the original sweater has like 20 buttons that go all the way down the front. And I just thought it would be a little more sporty if it had a zipper in it. And that was a little bit easier to do once it was steeked than to sew a buttonhole band with all those buttonholes on it. And so that's what I did. I think if I had to do it again and I was gonna put buttons, I'd make the button band, but no buttonholes, and I would just sew it shut up to here and then just pull it over my head instead of having the option of leaving it open. I did put a bias tape right here along this section to cover up the loose ends on the inside of the zipper, and that worked really well. And I did find it's kind of orange and white chevrons. Yeah, it really does. And then the turning row is, again, a Latvian braid. There are so many Latvian braids in this. This is when I fell in love with Latvian braids and why I teach that as a class. And then this is my Misurina, and I love this sweater so much. Oh, it uses Farmer's Daughter Reminisce and Spin Cycle. I got the idea from Tracy of the Grocery Girls because she knit one. And she talked about how it had so much going on in it. And that's my favorite kind of knitting, where you've got a little lace here, and then you've got some cables in between, and then you have color work. So you've got three things going on in this yoke, only to the underarm break, and then the rest has a textured body. There is some texture in this body, just some little purl stitches. I think it's like knit 4, purl 1, so you do have some texture in that body, but I just love this sweater. So I definitely want to make it again so that I can make it longer, so it would be not a sweater that I would wear with a dress. This one is cropped, but I would like to make it again in another color and then make it longer, and maybe make the sleeves like 3/4 or something, so it would be more fall wearable. I might try to do that this year for Rhinebeck. I think we might be going to Rhinebeck. There's a group of us, a couple people who've never been before, and so we're thinking, I think that would be a really fun sweater done in some bright colors, fall colors, right? But I don't know, we'll have to see. I will definitely take my pretty boxes. That is just such a glorious fall sweater. That is also one of my favorites, and so I'll put a little picture in here, but I did the brown with the sunset colors, and it is one of my favorite sweaters of all time. I do have short sleeved and long sleeved in that version, and that's what I really like about that sweater, is that there were options for people. You can do the lice or not do the lice. You can do a solid body, or you can do a body with, you know, color work, color speckles in it, long sleeves or short sleeves or 3/4, and I think it just felt like it made it more wearable. And because I have one of each, I just feel like I can wear it in multiple seasons, and that's what I would like to have done with this one, just because this was so much fun to knit, and the yarn is impeccable. Quite expensive, that Reminisce yarn, but just impeccable to work with. I just loved it. It is spongy and it has so much give in it that I almost can compare it to the elastic yarn. It reminds me so much of Cascade Fixation yarn. It just has a spring to it. It's not elastic like Cascade Fixation, but boy, is this lovely yarn to work with. Get yourself a skein and make a hat. It's so amazing. I wish it just came in a bunch of more vibrant colors because the palette is more, you know, medium. It's more of a medium neutral palette. Okay, a couple more. Oh, this is my ground pepper. I have had this done in 2 different colorways. So this is Fleeting Men Fiber Arts in a gradient of yellows, and I love the wearing of this sweater. I wear these 2 sweaters all the time. Fingering weight, V-neck, just gives you so much wearability for warm weather and cool weather. You can wear a shirt underneath it, a long sleeve t-shirt, a short sleeve t-shirt. You can wear it by itself. There's just so much wearability in this. And once, the first one I was wearing so often, and then I decided that I had this fingering weight yarn that I knew would probably have some striping and pooling going on in it. And I thought I just needed a plain sweater. And so, yeah, it is, you know, it does pool up here, but it pools down here a little bit. And I think it's kind of balanced. It, you know, looks like a stripe. It's not quite as obvious in person as it is on the camera because I have my lights on. But yeah, I really like this sweater a lot. The V-neck is perfection. It is really well written and really well done. It lines up perfectly. It's a nice size of a V-neck. It's not too big and it's not too deep and it's not too shallow. It's just a perfect sweater. It is fingering weight. The first one I made was a little cropped. The mannequins are different shapes and sizes, so it doesn't really look like it in the pictures, but this one's a little bit cropped, and I wear it with a white shirt hanging down underneath it most of the time. I really do need to get a bright yellow shirt to put underneath there. Maybe I might have a collared bright yellow shirt now that I bought to wear underneath something else now that I'm thinking of it. So when I put this away, I'm going to put it on that and see how it looks. Now that all my summer clothes are up, now I'm going to wear a long sleeved shirt and a long sleeve. I don't know. I think we're up for more rain. So yeah, we've just had so much rain, which we needed so bad. But this ground pepper is by SuviKnits and is one of my favorites to wear. So I had 3 favorites that I wear all the time: ground pepper, my fiber friend shawl, and then the one I'm going to show you next. Okay, this is my Ink and Brass by Dani Sunshine. My most highly commented on sweater when I wear it out and about. You will not see the beauty of the striping in the brown in this because it's kind of getting blown out a little bit, but there is orange and pink in the brown stripes. And it just, sweater just glows. It's just beautiful. It's fingering weight again. I just find a fingering weight sweater so wearable. It is just amazing to me. It's a raglan, so you do get that kind of square that looks like more of a square neckline when the raglan shaping happens, but by far one of my most worn items. So I put 3 different sweaters in my most worn, and then the rest are just favorites that I wear a lot. But those 3 that are kind of fingering weight, yeah, I wear them more often because they go in more of the seasons, right, than my worsted weight ones or my chunky ones. I can wear those a lot in the winter, but not in the other seasons, whereas these I can just kind of wear at least 3 seasons of the year, and sometimes 4 in air conditioning, honestly. So yeah, this is Ink and Brass by Dani Sunshine. The yarn is by another crafty girl, and she is dyeing again. She has moved cross country and she is dyeing, so you could get in touch with her for these 2 colorways. They are listed on my pattern page. It is a pink and then a brown that is variegated, that has the orange and the pink in it, but I love her colorways. She has some glorious colorways. She's a really good, not huge, popular yarn dyer. She's just really good at what she does. Okay, and last but not least, number 9 in my favorite knits of all time are my Ranunculus sweaters. I do wear them all the time because I wear them when I teach, and that's why I knit so many of them, because I have dresses that go with them, and I can just throw on my dress and any one of these sweaters and just go teach in them, and they're easy and quick to knit for me. They worked up really quickly. This yarn held double. but I do have them in 2 other colors. So I have them in this, turn it around, have them in this gold, and I have a gold dress, linen cotton dress from Gudrun Schoen that's exactly the same color. And so I wear that one with this, and then I knit my second one in this kind of orangey, oops, that's the back too, in this kind of orangey coral colorway. And I have a dress that I can wear this one with. I wore this at Yarn Fest with my green on green polka dot dress. And then I have a pink and white with little yellow flowers dress that I wear under this one. So the reason that mostly that I really went ahead and knit so many of these is because I can just wear them when I teach. They're very comfortable. I often get warm while I teach, so I wouldn't want to wear something too heavy or long because I'm usually running around the room helping people. And so, yeah, I've knit 4 Ranunculus and I have yarn for 2 more. I should cast that on for when we go up to the lake fishing here. That would be kind of fun to have another one cast on. I have a purple in this same yarn. This is that linen blend. It's really just, it has washed up super well. I wash these and throw them in the dryer all the time. And so I would highly recommend the Ranunculus revamped. Like, you have to work pretty hard at not doing it at that huge gauge, but there are lots of modifications out there from different people telling you, and on my pattern pages too, my project pages tell you what I did to modify the pattern so it's not as big and sloppy and knit at such a giant gauge. So yeah, those are my favorite knits of all time. I do have some other things as I was going through my project pages of, you know, blankets and socks that are my favorite. I could have gone on and on, honestly, doing this podcast, but I just decided to just kind of do the sweaters that mostly came to mind, and then I can add things in later. I do want to share a couple of things here. I am selling a few project bags, and I want them to go to people who mostly would love to have them. And so I have 3 here that are hardly ever been used. This one is a beautiful Attenti bag. And I posted this on my Instagram and didn't get any takers, but I love this bag, but I have it in orange. So whenever I'm gonna go use it, I always pick the orange one, and I don't choose this one, and so it never gets used. So I'm asking $45 for that one, but make me an offer. I originally paid $90, and it's really just been hanging in my closet for several years and just needs to kind of get out of my stash. Then I purchased this bag, this Matterroot bag, which is just beautiful. I am just not a huge fan of this canvas at the bottom, this waxed canvas. It's a sensory thing for me. I have had a couple of bags with this kind of, and I'm just not using it. I like a bag with a bigger strap. This one is a buckle in, and so you can carry it over your wrist. It does fold down to be used almost like a yarn bowl. It is quite long, but it's just not getting used, and it just feels like such a shame. I maybe carried a project in it once. When I first got it, I might have put a project in it, but I never took it anywhere. And I just think it's lovely. And so this one is also for sale for $45. I originally paid $90 again. So I'm just asking for half price. So if you're interested in that. And then the last one is just a padded bag. It has a little boy and a little girl hunting fireflies. I'm just asking $20 for this. It has little pink lining with little white dots. There is not a pocket on the inside, but it does have a really nice handle. I purchased it for $70. It is large. It's quite large, but I'm just not using it. And I think it's because it's padded that I just want a more squishable bag, but it's absolutely lovely. So if you are interested in that, let me know. I have 3 bags out there that I would like to have out of my closet now that I have reorganized my closet and getting things kind of put away. I think that's all I have for this week. For those of you who are just watching the podcast on YouTube, I would really appreciate it if you would subscribe. Down below, there are a number of you who watch who have not subscribed. And I will now record the rest of my podcast, tips and tricks. I've got some great stuff to show today for Patreon viewers. So we will see you in a couple weeks. Thanks so much for being with me today. Bye.